Welcome. Today on Book Talk with Bookish Erika, I am interviewing S.C. Muir. S.C., thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am excited that you're here. Can you tell me a little bit about your books?
Sure. So I currently have two fantasy romance books out in my planned trilogy, the Dual Mage series, which is about a prince of fire and a princess of death in an arranged marriage. With a sudden rise to power, they learn someone can harness two types of magic for the first time in millennia, and they must find this dual mage before violent insurgents take their life, all while trying to fall in love along the way.
That is an excellent pitch. Honestly,
Thank you.
that is so good. I obviously hear a lot about a lot of different types of books and, people introduce their books in different ways, and I feel like you have that down. So,
Thank you. Yes,
that is
I
an excellent pitch. So I feel like people are already going to be interested in your book.
I had to perfect it before I went to a Polycon a couple of years ago because I
Oh,
hadn't had a lot of practice pitching my books. So I was like, oh, I should probably write something that makes sense. And I'm in love with my pitch. So thank you. I'm glad that you also like it.
yeah, I love that. And I absolutely love the arranged marriage trope.
Me
So I
too.
love seeing that in your book. So what other tropes do you either love to read or write?
I feel like my answers are the same for read versus write. I love he falls first, and he falls harder. I love the one bed trope. I just think that that's so fun. Enemies to lovers is, I think, my favorite to read. I am also working on a enemies to lovers STEM romance, which is really fun to write because I like the banter. Um, yeah, I think those are my top three favorite tropes.
Mine are actually probably exactly the same.
Yeah, they're the
I
best.
love all of those. And I don't know why, but it just works. Like they all
It
work
does.
together, they
Yes,
work, and they're just fun to read.
I
Um,
agree. And they
yeah,
never get old.
that's true. They never get old. I'm always excited about them. And even though I know what to expect, that's what I
Mhm.
want. And I'm still thrilled, like when they get to the inn or, whatever location and there's one bed. I'm so excited every time, even though I
Yep.
know it's coming, but that's what I want from this story. So
Right. It
that's
doesn't
that might be
matter.
why I like them, is because I know what's kind of happening.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's like they're at the inn. There's only one bed. It's like you know it's
Yes,
coming, but you don't care because it's so fun
exactly.
and so satisfying.
That's very true. Your upcoming STEM book, is that a modern, like contemporary romance, or is
Yep.
it more fantasy based?
No, so it's contemporary romance. So I have two STEM romances coming out. The first one is coming in a charity anthology. It's a bisexual charity anthology where it's nine novellas by bisexual authors about bisexual characters. So I have a MX, so a man and a non-binary character, um, who have a one night stand and then learn their colleagues who work at a university. They can't date for the policy, so it's like a will they, won't they. And
That
then
sounds
I'll be
amazing.
published. Thank you. I'm so excited about it. And then I have the enemies to lovers STEM romance, which is going to be published separately about two chemists who are forced to collaborate on a research project who are academic and professional rivals.
Ooh, I kind of like the rivals to lovers trope. It's
Yeah.
similar to the enemies to lovers, but I feel like more books actually kind of fall into the rivals to lovers
Yeah.
because not a lot of people are true enemies.
Right. Especially in
So
like a
I love that.
modern setting.
Exactly. I don't know a lot of people who have like an arch nemesis running around.
No, cannot relate.
Me neither. So the charity anthology, that is so cool. I love the sound of that. How did you get involved with that?
So about a year ago, an author, Frances Thompson, posted on Threads just wanting to do this, and a bunch of people responded, and this bisexual charity anthology came to life. It's called By the Way, I Love You, with the by being bi. And it comes out September 23rd, and it's nine contemporary romance novellas. It just sort of was like a call of like maybe this will happen, and then it all came together.
That's so cool. I love the idea of it. I love that you were chosen.
Me too.
I assume that the competition was probably pretty fierce. So congrats on being involved with that because that sounds like
Thank
an
you.
awesome project.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's been so nice to get to know all the other authors in the project. We're constantly chatting about everything. So it's been such a really supportive group of people.
That is so good to hear. I think that writing is very solitary.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of writers really struggle to find other writers or readers, whatever sort of community that they can.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's really cool that just through this project, you've found so many more people that you can work with, and you're literally working on a project together. And so it's probably really helping to build just a sense of community that will continue beyond this project.
Yeah, it's really nice. And like you said, writing is and can be very solitary, but I think that's the beauty of the bookish social media space is that so many authors are on social media and it's so easy to get to know each other that it doesn't matter if, I live here and someone lives in California or England or wherever else they might live. It's super easy to connect with people. And it's been nice to not have to, for lack of a better way of saying it, like go out of my way to try to make friends. It's like we were all brought together with a common goal, and it's been nice to get to know them.
I can imagine. I love that. I think that's so cool. What other ways have you found to connect with other authors, either in real life or online?
Yeah, so I am part of a group called the Fantasy Author Legion. We're a group of over 50 authors, mostly in the Northeast, but we have some people in like the Midwest area. And we have a giant Discord and we talk all the time about everything publishing related. We do in person book signings together. And I've actually met some of my best friends like in real life through this group. um, it's been so fun. So getting to connect with them at signings, or we'll do monthly Zoom chats where we talk about, things we want to change in the Legion or just get caught up with each other, has been honestly my favorite part of this is getting to know all of these people.
That is really cool. And I think that in order to survive in the very harsh writing world,
Mm-hmm.
I think it is imperative to have a group that you can rely on.
Oh,
And so I think
absolutely.
it's really cool that you are finding ways to connect with people through different projects or through in-person events. And I think that that's really cool because it is a very tough world to be out there. There's a million books, a million writers, and I think it can be very discouraging. And so hopefully this group is able to help uplift you and kind of help you along the way, but also share with the triumphs and burdens of publishing.
Oh yeah, we're constantly talking about our wins and our successes and sharing, hey, I did this on social media and it worked really well for me. Or hey, I found out that this was trending. If anyone has this in their books, like you should talk about it on social media. But it's also a great place for us to talk about some of the nitty gritty of like, okay, we'll talk about Kickstarters, or we'll talk about, certain merch we should get for book conventions, or really anything related to the industry, and really just help each other out. It's nice to not, like, for lack of a better term, like gatekeep that information. Um, and I love viewing other authors as my colleagues and getting to share tips and tricks with everybody and also learn from everyone else.
And I think that's the best mindset to have is you are colleagues, you are there to help each other grow, and everybody can succeed. It's
Yes.
not, I have to succeed, therefore you can't succeed. And so I think that's a really positive mindset. And I think, like I said before I started the recording, one of the reasons why I chose you is you are very like positive online.
Oh,
And
thank
so
you.
I think that just carrying that mindset through to, the actual social media and how you interact with people, I think that that is just the way to go. So props on keeping things positive in a world that is not always positive.
Thank you. Yeah, I love uplifting my fellow authors. I love sharing about their books on social media. Um, when I meet up with people from the Fantasy Author Legion, we exchange copies of each other's books to read, to promote on social media. Like it's so nice. And, it goes back to colleagues. Everyone can have a seat at the table, and everyone has an opportunity for growth, and everyone has an opportunity to succeed.
I love that. And speaking of everyone having a seat at the table, your books have very good representation.
Thank you.
And they have both disability representation and LGBTQ representation, which I love to see. And can you tell us a little bit about why that is so important?
Absolutely. So, for some context, my books have, like you said, LGBTQ rep. I have main characters who are bi, pan, non binary, gay, and lesbian. So, really covering a lot of different sexualities and genders there. I realized this the other day that every single main couple is a queer couple.
Oh, I love
I didn't
that.
actually really realize I did that. It was a conscious effort. I was like, okay, I'm going to make this couple, a man and a non-binary person, and this like two women and this two men. But I didn't realize that I had very few straight couples, which was very interesting. And as for the chronic illness rep or the disability rep, I have my main female character has PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome and endometriosis. And I think that representation in fiction is extraordinarily important because everyone deserves to feel seen and heard and acknowledged in real life and in the books that they're reading. And I think, it's really impactful when you read a book and you see a character that's like me, or that's like somebody else I know. And I think that that's really important, that you feel acknowledged and that by other people, and that you matter in all aspects of who you are. And so I wanted to make sure it was really intentional, the representation I put in all of my books.
I think that is absolutely amazing. And when I was reading about your books and, kind of seeing the types of books that you wrote, that was one thing that really drew me to your books is all of the representation that you have. And I think that I really liked what you said where yes, we can see ourselves in those people or in these characters, but we can also understand other people as well. And I think that a lot of times my reading, I kind of put myself into the main character's shoes and I'm doing whatever they're doing, but I do think it is reading is so wonderful because you can learn about other types of people with different types of struggles, people who might look different from you or have a different outlook or mindset. And so I think that having books that you didn't even necessarily try
Mm-hmm.
to, you didn't set out to have no main straight couples, but that's just what you wanted to write. And so
Mm-hmm.
hopefully a lot of people will be able to see these different types of couples and just, it will hopefully broaden their minds if they're closed-minded. And hopefully people can learn something from what you're writing and the types of characters that you're writing. So I love to see that representation there.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like you said, reading about other people is so important because you learn a lot. And I think I'm very intentional with what I read. I make sure I'm diversifying what I read, reading authors who have different backgrounds than I do, who look different than I do, who have different sexualities and different, who are different gender than I am, to make sure that I'm covering and learning as much as I can. Because I think, if you want to learn and grow and support people better, you need to do the work yourself. And reading diverse books is, one step in that journey.
Yep. And I think it's a good place for people to start. I think, like
Absolutely.
you said, it is a journey, and I think that there is a lot more that can be done. But I think reading is a great way for people to start to learn. Or if
Absolutely.
they're already on the journey, then it can just help them further the journey along, if that makes
Right.
sense. Hmm.
Because you might read a book and say, oh, wow, I haven't heard of, this disability before. And then you go and read about it, or you listen to a podcast, or in my case, I'm a scientist in real life, so I read a lot of scientific journals. Um, you know, it's a great place to get exposure to things that maybe you're not an expert on.
For sure, for sure. So when I heard that you were writing the STEM books, I did wonder if you were a scientist or if you
Yes.
had some sort of science background. So how did your scientist background play into these books that you're writing?
Yeah, so I have a bachelor's and a master's in chemistry. Um, and I do research scientist, yep, research science for my day job, which is super fun. But for my fantasy novels, I actually found that my science background played into it a little bit too, because in the way I built my magic system, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. You do something bad with your magic, something bad's probably going to happen. So I make sure that
Interesting.
there's limits and, basically there's death magic. If you kill someone, well, that's not really great for you. Some bad stuff's going to happen. Um, but then when writing my STEM romances, so the first one in the anthology, which is called Experimental Affection, it's the one who have the one night stand. They are working on cancer research. So they're looking at the different binding interactions between various molecules in the body that are linked to thyroid cancer specifically. So I had to do a
Interesting.
lot of research about that. I don't know much about cancer research based on my work and my background, but I did a lot of research and I was reading papers and looking into, molecular modeling and that kind of thing. So it helped me write the science portion of that book. And then the Rivals to Lovers one is they're doing tattoo ink research, which when I was in college, my undergraduate, like senior thesis basically, was on analyzing tattoo inks. And I'm just like
Oh,
so
cool.
fascinated by it that I was like,
Yeah.
this has to be in a book one day.
Oh, that's so cool. I absolutely love when people use like experiences from their life
Mm-hmm.
into their books. And that's such a unique thing. I don't have any tattoos. I've thought a lot about them. I think they're really cool. I just can't decide what I want.
That's so
Um,
fair.
I know it's a hard decision. My husband has a bunch and I don't have any because I just can't decide. But I have never thought about what goes into the actual ink. And so that's really cool that that's what you studied for your thesis and then you're actually writing a book about it. I love that.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I have a bunch of tattoos. I'm trying to work on a leg sleeve. And, I did this whole presentation when I was in college. And my professor was like, okay, my only question for you is like, does this dissuade you from getting tattoos? I'm like, no. I'm like, I don't really care. Like, I already have them. So, oh well.
Yeah, oh well.
Like, they're not horrible. They're not that bad. Like, it's fine. There's plenty of
Yeah.
other things that we put in and on our bodies that do bad things too. So, who
That's
cares?
very
These are
true.
pretty.
And they're pretty, they look good, they're a part of you forever.
Yep,
And I feel like there is a lot of bad stuff that, we do consume or put on our bodies, but you can't avoid everything bad. And so I
exactly.
feel like you need to choose what you're okay with, and then that's what you're okay with?
Exactly.
Yeah. So do you have any tattoos inspired by your books?
Not yet, because like you, I can't decide what I want. Um,
Okay.
I have, I really want to get a tattoo for the Dual Mage series, but I don't know what I want. And I'm hoping that finishing the final book, which I'm like 5 chapters away from finishing, will help me decide. But so far, I don't have anything yet.
So we need to help you come up with ideas for it.
Yes, yes, please. I need ideas.
Yeah, it would be cool once you, like you said, finish the
Mhm.
trilogy and then maybe after it's published, that could be like your celebratory thing of
Yes.
like, I finished my first series, here's my tattoo for it. And I think that would be pretty cool.
I think that'd be fun. But I'm like, I feel like I
Yeah,
have to go through and be like, okay, what imagery did I use? What symbolism did I use? And I feel like I can't remember the first two books from because originally I wrote them so long ago. So it's like, oh, what did I do again?
that's funny. Well, I hope you can decide on something because that would be really cool.
I hope so too.
So how long have you been working on this, your first series? How long has that been going on?
So I started Death by Fire, which is the first book, I think in 2020, during COVID. It was my passion project. And I published it in October of 2022. I published the sequel, Life After Death, in March of 2024. And then the last one will be releasing like January, February 2026. So
Wow.
about 6 years to get the whole thing completed.
That is a long time. Not to, I'm not saying, oh, you took too long. I'm just saying
No, no, no,
it's
no.
amazing that you have been working on this amazing, huge project, multiple books for years now. And
Mm-hmm.
it's probably changed your life quite a bit now
Oh, yeah.
that you have multiple books out and you have two anthologies coming out, plus the last trilogy books. So your life probably after your passion project during COVID has changed you, probably for the better, I hope.
Oh, absolutely. It's been such an amazing experience to, be living a life that I'm proud of and I'm excited about and getting to, go to book signings and, sell books and meet readers and write books. It's really fun. And, even all the times it's really stressful, like all the good times make up for that. And it's so rewarding.
That is really cool. How how do you deal with burnout from, because you have a day job, a
Mhm.
full-time, probably very involved day job,
Yeah.
and you write and go to events and you're online and publishing and posting and all of that. So how do you deal with not burning out as a writer?
I would love to say I don't burn out, but that would be a lie. Um, I burnt out after finishing my second book, Life After Death, and I didn't write for like 6 to 8 months,
Oh,
which
wow.
was really hard, but it's part of my journey as a writer. And I think what I learned from that experience was making sure that I write and publish on my own terms, not from some external pressure. Because I was trying really, really hard to get my second book out before ApollyCon, which I'm so glad I did. I have no regrets about doing it, but I wish I had given myself more time. So I guess like the way I mitigate it now is making realistic timelines. And, for example, my third book's due to my editor in September, and I booked that last year. So I've known for a year that I have to get this done. So I'm not saying, okay, I have to get this to my editor in 6 months and I haven't written any of it. I'm like, okay, I have a year to write it, to edit it, and to fall in love with it. And if it takes me a year, it takes me a year. If it takes me 6 months, that's fine.
I think that is the way to go because unfortunately there's this mindset where indie books should be published really, really, really fast. And a
Yeah.
lot of people don't want to wait for the next book. And even though you have to wait for traditionally published books, so I don't get why there's a difference, but that's another conversation. Um, but I think that pacing yourself while you still had a deadline though, because I think
Yeah.
that is kind of key, is you gave yourself plenty of time, but you still had a deadline in mind. So even if you had to take a little bit of time off, it's still in the back of your mind. And you can think, okay, I still need to be moving and progressing at least somewhat.
Yeah, exactly. And to make sure that I am constantly writing, but also not burning out, so walking that fine line. If I really want to write one day, I'll let myself write for as long as I want. But if I really don't want to write, I write for 15 minutes. I set a timer and I'm like, if I don't want to write at the end of these 15 minutes, then I'll done and I'll put it away. And sometimes in those 15 minutes, I write 5 words. Sometimes I delete 100, but it counts and I'll put it away. But what I find a lot of times is once those 15 minutes are up, I do want to continue writing.
I love that. I write a little bit,
Ooh,
nothing published. But I
one
have this
day.
really one day, hopefully, I think I'm gonna do what you did where I book the editor a certain amount of time
Mm-hmm.
out and then it kind of forces me to write on it a little bit more regularly. But I wish I had it with me. It's a visual clock. So
Okay.
like you spin it, it's an hour timer and it's colored. And
Oh,
so rather, I mean, you can see the minutes on there, but you can see as the timer is slowly going down, like the color goes away. And so
Oh,
it's just very visual, which I like.
that's cool.
And so oftentimes when I try to write, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to set the timer
Hmm.
30 minutes or something and then just get in the zone. And like
Hmm.
you said, most of the time, by the time the 30 minutes are out, then I'm having fun and I'm able to put words on paper or edit or, whatever I need to. But if I'm done at the end, then that's okay too.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of nice because it's nice to force yourself to write, but it's nice to give yourself grace as well and just say, okay, today isn't the day. I can come back to it tomorrow and hopefully I'll be more inspired at that point.
Yep, you said it perfectly, about giving yourself grace. I think it's a really underrated self-care tactic, to give yourself the freedom to say no to something.
I think saying no is very difficult.
Yes.
And I actually, when I was younger, I was very much a people pleaser.
Same.
And I had to train myself to say no and to
Mhm.
not justify why I'm saying no.
Yes, no is a full sentence.
No is a full sentence. And that is one of my favorite sentences because it
Yep.
is. And a lot of times people are very off by that.
Hmm.
If I'm invited to something and I just say, oh, no, thanks, I can't make it,
Hmm.
they expect me to explain why. And a lot of times it's just none of their business. So I
Yep.
don't.
Yep.
People get a little uncomfortable sometimes, but that's not my problem. So,
No, it's as simple as that. It's if it's personal, you don't have to share anything you don't want to.
exactly, exactly. Um, so let's see, what are some of the best ways that readers can support you as an indie author?
Oh, such a great question. I love this one. I think number one is, you know, boosting us on social media, whether that's following us, liking our stuff, sharing it, commenting, literally anything. That's huge for us because it helps us get put in front of other people. Obviously, talking about our books, whether online, in person, requesting them at your library, really anything. Obviously, reading them, but that's, beside the point. Um, I think it's underrated how important word of mouth is. Like we can scream about our books and into the void, but if one reader makes a video that's like, "Wow, I loved this book," that could make a huge difference to an indie author. Um, those are my two biggest ones, and for some reason my mind is blanking. Um, but I say talk, literally just talk about them. Doesn't matter to who. Um, and request them at libraries. It's hard for us to get our books into libraries, but if readers want them, like it's a lot easier.
Yes, and I think a lot of readers don't know that they can request books at the
Mhm.
library.
Yeah.
And so I post about it every once in a while because every once in a while I'll go through and I'll request some books at the library.
Mhm.
But I think just a lot of people don't know that they can do that. So I love when people recommend it because one, it helps the libraries and keeps our libraries alive, but
Yep.
it also really helps the authors because, like you said, you can request it to be in there. But a lot of times the library will come back and say, oh, we need proof that people really want to read the book.
Yeah.
So if the readers are requesting it, then libraries are much more likely to actually stock your book.
Absolutely.
Um,
And same with brick and mortar bookstores as well. My sister-in-law a couple weeks ago went to a bookstore and asked, like, "Hey, do you have Death by Fire?" They're like, "No, but we can order it."
oh,
Um,
good.
yeah, and so, they put it on a list to give to the manager for, future orders. So it's like simple as that. If you loved a book, ask your bookstore if they have it, because then they might order it and someone else might love it.
Yes, I love that. That is excellent advice. Um, we are almost out of time here. So if someone was interested in starting your series with Death by Fire, how can they find your book currently and what formats is it available in?
Yeah, so my books are everywhere. Amazon, Barnes and Noble. They're on Kindle Unlimited. Um, I think you can also order them through like Books a Million and all of those other stores. My books, well, Death by Fire is available in ebook, paperback, and recently audiobook. So very exciting.
That is
And
exciting.
I'm super excited. And Life After Death's audiobook will be coming out August 12th. So
Okay, great.
super soon. But yeah, my books are available in all those three formats, really everywhere you can buy books, except the ebook is not on Apple or Google or Kobo because it's in Kindle Unlimited.
Right, of course. Ah, perfect. Well, I'm glad that there are a lot of options for the readers who want to start reading your books. And S.C. Muir said it better than I could. The best way to support, just engage with her posts, recommend her books if you read them, tell other people about them, even if you don't read them yourselves, just if you think someone else will like it, tell them about it.
Yeah,
And so hopefully, listeners, you will check out S.C. Muir's books. And thank you so much for meeting me today. I had a lot of fun.
this was great. Thank you so much again for having me. It was so, so lovely to meet you.